was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. Status quo. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live on Sunday, March 15th, 2020. Obviously, a lot going on in the world, in the country, in politics. So I'm going to try my best to bring you through it. I am in a new location, and I have not set up my green screen yet. So hopefully this visual is okay for you. I hope the audio is good and the visual is good. And as I get situated in my new place of living, I'm going to set up the green screen and all that good stuff. We already have 300 people watching. We need a whole lot more than 300 people watching this broadcast. So if you can, so kindly, I need every single one of you to smash that like button under the live stream. It's the thumbs up button right under the live stream. There's already 3 people that have disliked this. Like, are you crazy? We didn't even start yet. What's the dislike? So smash that like button right under the live stream. It'll get the audience going. Listen, this is kind of unusual for me because I don't particularly report on health epidemics often because I'm not a doctor. So I don't want to give incorrect information. So I'm just going to be giving you information that experts are putting out. And obviously, we're going to talk about the politics of everything. You have the debate going on tonight between Bernie and Biden. Obviously, the coronavirus is going to predominantly be up for discussion. But I think because of the coronavirus and basically the terrible response from the government, but also the virus, and it is exposing the complete emptiness, the complete inadequacies of our corporate totalitarianist government, that I think tonight, if Bernie Sanders chooses to actually take off the gloves for once, tonight presents such an opportunity for Bernie Sanders to expose not just Joe Biden, but why everything he has been fighting for, everything he has been talking about, every single aspect of the coronavirus exposes how the disease that is our capitalist system, the fact that, we need to fight for paid sick leave rather than it just being there, the fact that you have employers like Whole Foods CEO, just a filthy, wealthy person, literally advising his employees who are not symptomatic or sick to gift their vacation time to Whole Foods employees that are symptomatic. This is happening in America right now, rather than CEOs just being mandated to provide paid sick leave. This virus is showing the complete emptiness of Joe Biden's health care plan, if you even want to call it a plan. So we're going to get to all of that. And I'm going to have, frankly, stern words for Bernie Sanders. Tonight is it. It's tonight or never for Bernie Sanders. I expect the CNN debate at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We will be live after the debate, so tune in to us here after the debate tonight. I expect CNN's debate is going to have significantly higher numbers than other debates. Not only do you have a lot more people just home rather than going out, but you have a lot of people that are scared and frightened and want to hear from both Biden and Bernie. So Bernie's going to have a huge opportunity here. The primaries, as of now, are still happening on March 17th, which I think is a ridiculous, horrible decision by these states: Ohio, Florida, Illinois, and Ohio, Florida, Illinois, and Arizona, should not be holding primaries in person on Tuesday. That is insane. Absolutely insane. I'm not saying that as a Bernie guy. I'm saying that as, at the same time, public officials, not the president, because obviously he's a moron, public officials are telling you to stay home and social distancing and all that jazz. You literally have these officials saying, just go to the polls, where you'll be on long lines with other people that might not even know they're infected. Remember, you don't have to be exhibiting symptoms of coronavirus to be infected. They don't The symptoms do not immediately show for a lot of people. So if you're a person under 40, a young person who might have it but are not exhibiting symptoms, you could be going to vote and be passing it to an older voter on that line that is more susceptible. Vice versa, an older person who is not yet exhibiting symptoms could be passing it on to other people. So I just don't understand what these officials are thinking. We're going to get to that. So remember, we got 530 people watching already, or 328 likes. I need another 200 likes. We're also going to have a special report today. It's actually an hour special report. You will not see this reporting anywhere else. Freelancer Tina Desiree Berg, who's a freelance journalist out of California, did a lot of great reporting in Los Angeles in particular, showing the insane lines on the day of the California primary. Not only the insane lines, but the insane suppression of votes through California's ridiculous, frankly fraudulent system that hands out provisional ballots that generally aren't being counted, as well as something new, conditional ballots. So Tina shot a lot of great stuff, great interviews. She put it all together, so we're going to premiere it right here on Status Coup in a little bit. So we got a lot to go through. This is a super chat, so if you are feeling super, well, a lot of people aren't feeling so super, but Status Coup obviously needs to keep the light on. We're not going to be traveling anywhere, covering anything, because there's really nothing to cover right now. Everything's being shut down. But we are still actively fundraising for the ability to travel when things kind of, die down is the wrong phrase. But when we're able to travel, we want the funding to do it. So super chats are really appreciated. We're currently standing at 1,821 Status Coup members. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. We hope to get a lot of new signups today because tomorrow night is our first members call of this month. Usually we only have one members call monthly because we didn't do one in February. I was traveling covering the primaries. Jen was covering primaries on the road. We're going to do a double whammy this month. So tomorrow night, if you're a Status Coup member, you will get a link to join us on Zoom at 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific for our monthly members call. Again, this will be the first monthly member call. We'll have another one in 2 weeks. So you could sign up today for as low as $5 a month, statuscoup.com/join. And if you sign up today, you will get an invite to join us. If you're not familiar, it's not on YouTube. It's through Zoom, and you can become a member for as low as $5 a month. It's a video call. You don't have to be on video. You can mute your video and just listen. We answer questions, comments, concerns. We look forward tomorrow night to talking to you. And we'll have some news, behind-the-scenes stuff to tell you about that only members get. So, just to give you a kind of a overview of where things stand with coronavirus, let's take a look.
There are now over 156,000 cases confirmed across the globe and more than 5,800 deaths. Spain is now in lockdown. France and Israel are closing restaurants and other non-essential businesses. And here at home, the numbers continue to climb. Take a look at this map from last week. And now there are more than 2,900 known cases in 49 states and Washington, D.C. That's every state except West Virginia. At least 59 deaths have been reported. Our fight against an invisible enemy has turned life in America upside down. Mass gatherings put on hold. Almost 26 million students are out of school. And more of us are working from home.
So that was from ABC this morning. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to pretend to, be able to expertly tell you what's going to happen with coronavirus. What I can tell you, it's actually personally affecting my own family. Thankfully, nobody has tested positive for it yet in my family. As far as I know, no one even has symptoms yet. But in New York in particular, I live in New York City. In New York, the real cluster of this is in Westchester County, which is about a half hour from New York City, where my older brother and his wife and 2 children live. Literally, the containment zone is like 2 miles down the road from where they live. So it is, the National Guard has been sent in to my brother's town, basically. And my brother has, two young children, including my 1-year-old niece. And he is having to still go from Westchester, where there's this big cluster in New York of coronavirus, every day to and from New York City, and for his job. And obviously, going into New York City in an office, New York City, you're around a lot of people in your office. We don't know how are those people getting to the office, his colleagues at work. Are they taking the subway? Are they taking bus? Who are they around? It is such an unknown. Even if people aren't in your office, are not exhibiting symptoms yet, that doesn't mean they don't have it. And my brother, he's 36, so obviously younger. But imagine if you are my brother, and I'm sure there's many people like this. Imagine if you are my brother who has two young children, a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. You'd be very afraid, especially if you are living in Westchester County, where that cluster is. Thank you for the super chat. Tim Gordon, $7.99. Will you cover election fraud, the need for paper ballots via hand count, and the need to abolish voting machines? Stay tuned. We got some stuff on election fraud today. Imagine not just the fear of catching it, but the fear of giving it to your young children. So that's what's going on with my brother right now. He's very anxious. I don't blame him. Because, young children, although according to the data, are not being affected, that doesn't mean as a parent you're not deathly afraid to contract it yourself and pass it around your young children who you're feeding, you're playing with, all those things. So to me, the responsible decision, and a lot of people would have say, well, this can't happen in America. This isn't a communist country. This isn't an authoritarian country. First of all, it is. It's just a quieter form of authoritarianism. Go look at my videos from Standing Rock if you'd like any on that. And keep it coming in the super chat. Keep it coming. Keep the signups coming. We got to grow. StatusCout.com/join. I want to see as many new signups today as Status Coup members. That members call tomorrow night is going to be wonderful. StatusCout.com/join. Join us for as low as $5. To me, the responsible thing to do is, bottom line, quarantine the whole country. That might sound dramatic, but I'd rather a dramatic response to this than to end up what Italy looks like right now, because they didn't do it in the first place. Right now, every single person should be working from home that does not need to work in an office. Obviously, doctors, nurses cannot work from home. There is absolutely no common sense why restaurants are open right now. I fully understand that this is crippling for business. If you have to close your restaurants, if you have to close your small businesses, this is why Bernie has such an opportunity tonight, because this epidemic, this pandemic, is showing the holes in our system that have been created by the Republicans and the neoliberals like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. Why in America do we not have paid sick leave? Why in America do we not have safety nets where if, for whatever reason, there is a health catastrophe, there is a pandemic that people get immediately, this is the situation you definitely want UBI, Universal Basic Income, and cash payments, or, cash whatever, going straight to the American people to pay for their needs, groceries, medical supplies, you name it. This is where that is crucial. And I think Bernie Sanders needs to make that argument tonight. I also think that, what this is showing is that the fetishizing, the complete fetishizing of corporate America that our Republican Party has had and the Democratic Party has had basically since the 1970s. Corporate America will not save us. Walmart will not save us. Target will not save us. Trump paraded these executives around from Target and Walmart and CVS and Quest Diagnostics and all this. No, the private sector will not save us. If you are a neoliberal Barack Obama supporter, if you are a Warren technocrat watching, these public-private partnerships will not be adequate enough to stop the transmission of this disease, and they certainly are not adequate enough to make sure people do not, get evicted from their apartments if they can't afford the rent. They are not adequate enough to make sure the majority of Americans have paid sick leave during this catastrophe. Nancy Pelosi and the Republican and Trump's deal, as the New York Times reported, literally only covers 20% of workers to get paid sick leave. It's a joke. And I think it's instructive. By the way, we have almost 900 people watching. 500 of you have pressed that like button. I need another 350 of you. Smash that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. So keep the super chats coming. I understand money's tight. Any amount helps Status Coup. And let's keep seeing member signups. I think we have a new member already. Jen, let me know if we got a new member. I thought I saw one come through. So I want to play this clip. This is Dr. Anthony Fauci, the supposed, best infectious disease expert in America. This is what he had to say on Meet the Press this morning.
And joining me now is a very familiar face these days in this crisis. It's Dr. Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Dr. Fauci, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to be with you, Chuck.
Let me start with the testing issue. And I started with there because I feel as if we're on repeat. Right. Every week we're told, no, we're ramping up. And every week we don't ramp up.
Yeah.
Why should we believe that this is the week that this is going to work?
Yeah, Chuck, I think the reason is because we've really made somewhat of a sea change here. Before, I mean, obviously, early on, we weren't in the situation where we could actually get the test out in a broad way. And I mentioned on the show last week that we need to get the private sector involved. And just a couple of days ago, we had the CEOs there who are going to be now putting it on full overdrive. So I would expect that very soon. When I say soon, I'm talking about days to a week, where you're going to start to see it go up like this. Not everybody tomorrow is going to be able to get a test, but pretty soon you're going to see a major escalation of capability and implementation.
I just want to point out, and this is just one example, Steve Peoples, he's a reporter for the Associated Press. He shared his experience. I'm presenting mild symptoms, headache, mild fever, mild cough. I want to get tested in North Jersey. Primary care tells me go to ER. ER tells me to call City Health Department. Health Department tells me to go to urgent care. Urgent care tells me to go to ER. And everybody says no test.
Yeah, that's right. And you're going to hear about that even a little bit. You're going to hear individual ones. But as a group, it's going to change, Chuck. It really is. Because once you get the heavy hitters from industry and private sector involved, they're going to be able to make it go.
What's realistic about the spread of this virus right now? And we've had, Governor Mike DeWine is going to be on the show later. He goes, well, yes, we only have 26 confirmed cases. But his scientific advisors assume there might be 100,000 people with it in Ohio. Is that a fair estimation?
It is. The nature of outbreaks are that you percolate a little.
So I'm not playing the whole clip. First of all, if this is the preeminent expert on this disease, then we have problems. And I'll tell you why. And this is the argument I wish Bernie Sanders would make tonight. I don't know if he will, and I'm going to get into Bernie, because honestly, I'm a little sick of the Joe's my friend, and, let's play Kumbaya. He needs to basically tie coronavirus and the neoliberal milquetoast crumbs for the worker bees response from the Democratic Party. He needs to tie that around Joe Biden's neck tonight. Welcome new Status Coup member Khalid. We now are at 1,822 Status Coup members. The march towards 2,000 continues. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. And Khalid, thank you for signing up. You will now get an invite. And anyone who signs up as a new member today and tomorrow, you'll get the invite to tomorrow night's members only call at 7:30 Eastern time. It's with myself. It's with Jen. As many members as want to join through Zoom, we look forward to it. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, behind the scenes stuff that you don't know about yet. So, first of all, Anthony Fauci, and this is what I talk about, the fetishizing of corporate America. Anthony Fauci tells you, don't worry about it. We put the CEO of CVS in front of the camera. We put the CEO of Walgreens in front of the camera. We put the CEO of Target in front of the microphone. Now that they're on the job, this thing's going into overdrive. We're going to have so many more tests. It's going to be seamless. Anyone who wants to get tested is going to be able to get tested. No problem. Corporate America will save us. The private sector will save us. Excuse my French. Demonetized. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Thank you for the super chat. Tiernan McVeigh, 10 euros in the super chat. I'm the manager of a big tourist bar in Berlin, Germany. The police came into the bar around 8:30 p.m. last night and told us we had to close down. Berlin is about to go into lockdown for a month. Tiernan, I know it's hard because this is going to affect your business and your livelihood, but that's the right thing to do. And Germany, thank God, more than America, actually has basic benefits and services and safety nets in place for its citizens, where if your bar shuts down, I don't think you're going to be tossed out into the streets. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tiernan, because I don't want to diminish if you're going to have any economic hardship because of this. But in America, you can currently be tossed into the streets. And that was the stark discrepancy in Joe Biden's, I mean, if you could even understand what he was saying in that coronavirus address he gave, and Bernie Sanders. We're going to get into that in a minute. Thank you for the super chat. Carol Edwards, thank you. Such generosity from you as always. Carol Edwards, $50. Nice acoustics in the new place. A's who really resonates. Well done on Redacted tonight. Thank you. I was on Lee Camp's Redacted tonight. You could go check that out. Thank you, Carol. If only you could hear the acoustics at night my girlfriend and I are dealing with. Ugh, I'm not even going to get into it. Very loud at night, but I digress. So, Dr. Anthony Fauci tells you two things that are complete bullshit. But this is because of the fetishizing of corporate America, because corporate America has bought Donald Trump, has bought Joe Biden, has bought Nancy Pelosi, and has bought all the adults in the room, and they're all being exposed because the response to this is completely inadequate. Not just to protect public health, but to protect people's economic livelihoods and make sure that they could afford to eat and live. And particularly the homeless, what are the homeless supposed to do? This is an airborne illness, and they're still sleeping on the streets. Welcome new Status Coup member, Sarah. Woohoo! We are now at 1,823 Status Coup members. Keep signing up. StatusCout.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month, and join us on our members call tomorrow night. StatusCout.com/join. Whoa, another one just came in. Welcome, new member, Mark. Now we are at 1,824 Status Coup members. Keep them coming, hot and heavy. We love them. We love you, new members, and we look forward to giving you a shout-out tomorrow on our members call. So Dr. Anthony Fauci says that, now that the private sector is involved, the Quest Diagnostic, who I'm sure many of you have had insane bills from after getting blood work in your life. The CEOs of CVS and Target and Walgreens. You think these people and these companies are suddenly going to ramp up testing so that tens of millions of people can get a test tomorrow if they want to? Are you kidding me? Of course not. These companies only care about one thing, their bottom line. These companies their motive is not to protect the public health in a pandemic. It's not to make sure that every single person could get tested. It's not to make sure, by the way, even though they're providing free testing, you could go get a free test. What happens if you're positive? They're not providing free coverage for care. So if you tomorrow start brewing a fever, and sorry to interrupt, welcome new Status Coup member, Rudy! We are now at 1,825 Status Coup members. Keep it coming, baby. StatusCout.com/join. So if you get a fever tomorrow, let's say 99.9, and then the next day it goes up to 101, and then the next day it goes up to 103 with the other symptoms. Let's say, for argument's sakes, Trump and the corporate CEOs that they're parading onto the camera get their shit together and testing becomes more readily available. Well, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to afford your care from that testing. Just like the people of Flint did not ask did not do anything to get poisoned, and people in California have been contaminated by water and other things, and all over this country, people are being poisoned by water, by lead, by arsenic, by PFAS, by uranium, many other things. Okay, well, if you could get them a free test, great. Well, what about the thousands of dollars of bills that they're going to incur to get the care if they get coronavirus? A lot of people, it's the beginning of the year, have not met their health care deductibles yet. So they're not guaranteeing free care towards the coronavirus. And by the way, Joe Biden's, whatever he's calling it, expanding Obamacare with a public option. If Joe Biden were the president today, if Joe Biden's plan, if you want to call it a plan, went through, not only, I think the number is understating it. I think it's more than 10 million Americans would still be uninsured. Joe Biden's healthcare plan of Obamacare would still nearly bankrupt people if they get coronavirus and have thousands of dollars of bills related to hospital stays, the fluids they would have to give you, the follow-up treatment they would need to give you, an eventual vaccine. You think the eventual vaccine is going to be free in the United Corporations of America? I have a bridge to sell you. If you think that vaccine is going to be provided free under President Donald Trump or President Joe Biden. Thank you for the super chats. Sirius 1976, not much, but I have $0 income and coasting till I turn 62. Great work, Jordan and Jen. Thank you so much for that generosity. P. Ward 499, to fight coronavirus, housing in all caps. Coronavirus is spread by coughing and sneezing and fecal. Homeless people will spread virus far and wide. Correct. That's what I just said. Thank you for the super chat. Let me make sure I'm not missing others because we love you in the super chat. JK, $5. Arizona Election Day director walks away while announcing closure of all poll locations. I'm sorry, I can't do this. Hey, JK, I'm on it. I got it queued up. We got a lot of work to do. We're going to cover that in a little bit, so we got you. And if you came late, we have a whole hour-long report on the California voter suppression and, frankly, fraud that is going on. Freelance journalist Tina Desiree Berg has that for us. So keep it coming in the super chat. Welcome new Status Coup member Joseph. We are now at 1,826 Status Coup. Whoa, another one. Welcome new Status Coup member Keith. We are now at 1,827 members. Sorry that I keep interrupting, but I have to give our new members shout-outs. We love you. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. And by the way, you're going to get you will get a link as a member for our video call tomorrow night. And if you missed it, we will be live tonight after the debate, too. So today's going to be a double whammy. So Dr. Anthony Fauci, right there. No, I did not buy Alex Jones toothpaste yet to cure coronavirus. Oh my God, Alex Jones, don't even get me started. And he just got a DUI. So not only is Anthony Fauci and Chuck Todd and all these people like cheering that corporate America is now involved, corporate America being involved is not going to stop people from contracting coronavirus. It's not going to get the Trump administration's act together as far as making testing readily available, and it's certainly not going to pay for your treatment if you, hopefully not, but if you contract the coronavirus. Secondly, the tweet that Chuck Todd showed, it was I think an editor or something from the Associated Press was saying, I was feeling the symptoms of coronavirus, so I went to get tested. And he described this ridiculous maze. I went to urgent care. They tell me to go to the emergency room. I go to primary care doctor. They tell me to go to the emergency room. Emergency room tells me to go to urgent care. Urgent care tells me to go to McDonald's. It's a giant maze, and that is because of the bureaucracy and the corporatization and the for-profit nature of our for-profit healthcare system. If you had a Medicare for all system, you wouldn't be going to one area for them to tell you to go to another area, for them to tell you to go to another area. By the way, if you have coronavirus, imagine how much energy your immune system is already weakened, and you're having to first travel to the primary care doctor, then to go to the urgent care doctor, then to go to the emergency room, then to go back to the it's a fucking catastrophe and disaster, which is our healthcare system. So this is why, frankly, a lot of you might not like it, what I'm about to say, but got to keep it real. I always keep it real. Bernie Sanders has to. I'm not talking about just taking off the gloves. Taking off the gloves is no longer an option. Bernie Sanders needs to go fucking nuclear tonight on Joe Biden, on the Democratic Party, and the corporate state. This could not only be Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders criticizing Trump, and that's that, because that just, you're not differentiating yourself then. Bernie Sanders, and this is something that I've been starting to think about the last few days, and I'm a Bernie guy, but I criticize him when I feel he should be criticized. It's starting to get reported that Bernie Sanders has withheld going really, really aggressively on Joe Biden because in the Senate, Biden was always good to Bernie. Biden was always, while the other senators always treated him as an outsider living on an island, Biden has always been good to Bernie. And Bernie obviously sees Trump as a graver threat to America than he sees Biden. This is what's been coming out in recent days as to why Bernie has had reservations about going after Biden hard. Well, I think Bernie Sanders, if that's the case, fundamentally misunderstands the danger of somebody like Joe Biden. Because I got news for you. If Joe Biden was president during this pandemic, would the response be a little better? Yeah, I think it would. Would it be adequate to the crisis we're in? Absolutely not. You'd have the same exact problems of people being sent in a maze, doctor to a primary care doctor, to emergency room, to urgent care. You would have the same exact problem of people being afraid to go get tested because, well, I don't want to go bankrupt to get tested. These same problems would exist in a Joe Biden presidency. You would have people who own restaurants or own bars or are workers, tip workers, not knowing if they're going to pay the rent because they don't have basic protections. All of this would exist under Joe Biden's presidency. But the thing is that I think Bernie Sanders maybe he understands it. I don't know. But I think what what Bernie Sanders doesn't quite get, Joe Biden might have been nice and diplomatic to you in the halls of the Senate, and in the Senate, there's this diplomatic nature. You start out every speech with, my friend on the aisle and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know who Joe Biden wasn't so good to? Young black men. You know who Joe Biden wasn't so good to? Single mothers who got kicked off of welfare reform because Democrats like Joe Biden pushed through Republican extremism like the welfare reform of the 1990s. You know who Joe Biden wasn't so good to? Black families who got foreclosed, their homes got foreclosed on in the 2008 financial crash because people like Joe Biden pushed the repeal of Glass-Steagall. Not just black families, a lot of white families too, but the 2008 financial crash disproportionately harmed black families because the predatory banks went into black and brown communities and targeted them to fool them into purchasing these mortgages. Welcome new Status Coup member Kelly. We are now at 1,827 Status Coup members. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. You know who else Joe Biden wasn't so good to? Maybe he was good to you in the Senate, Bernie. You know who else he wasn't so good to? 18 to 26-year-old males who got swindled into fighting in a war in Iraq, and many of whom, thousands of whom, lost their lives. Biden wasn't so good to those people. Okay? You know who else Joe Biden wasn't so good to out there? People, families who can't declare bankruptcy easily because of Joe Biden and the bankruptcy bill. I could go down the list of all the things Joe Biden has done as a senator and vice president, by the way, that were not good to working people, to black people, to brown people, to disabled people, to the vulnerable in this country. So, the thing that troubles me, do I think Bernie Sanders, just the act of him saying, my friend Joe, is that why he's losing? No, that's not why he's losing. The reason Bernie Sanders is losing, and there's several reasons, many that are out of his control, which we've talked about here, the media rigging the election, the manufacturing consent, the media refusing to report on Joe Biden's lies. Could you imagine if the media would report as much on Joe Biden's civil rights lies as they report on the Bernie Bros, which a new report just came out, by the way, showing it's a myth, the Bernie Bros. It's not even a thing that they've been pushing. I'm not saying Joe Biden would have lost South Carolina, but can you imagine if the voters, particularly black voters, in South Carolina, in Mississippi, in Alabama, in Arkansas, in Tennessee, all across the South, were told that Joe Biden was lying about being arrested in South Africa on his way to meet Nelson Mandela, was told the true extent of how Joe Biden worked with arch segregationists in the 1970s to stop busing from happening. We're told that Joe Biden has publicly in black churches lied about joining in civil rights sit-ins. Yes, black voters, particularly older black voters, are more conservative. It might frustrate us, but put yourself in a black person's shoes for a second. I understand why they are more conservative. I understand why a lot of them are naturally predisposed to be against a message of revolution and political revolution. They have been lied to for 400 years in this country. There has been empty promises for 400 years to black people. Black people their minds work, particularly older black Americans. Their minds work to not trust the government and to take whatever help you could get, not expect more, not expect the message of Bernie to actually come fruition because they've been lied to by politicians for their entire existence. So I could get why older African Americans are, just by nature, tend to be a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more conservative, but a lie is a lie. And most black people do not lie, do not like white people lying about, sticking up for black people, lying about being arrested on my way to meet Nelson Mandela, and Nelson thanked me for being arrested. Don't like somebody literally lying to black people in churches about I joined in civil rights sit-ins. None of that was reported, and I think that would have damaged Biden. Damaged Biden significantly. By the way, welcome new Status Coup member. We just got Kelly. I thought I saw a new one. Keith. Welcome new Status Coup member Keith. We are now at 1,828 members. Keep signing up. The road to 2,000 is very, 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 it's moving right now. It's moving. We're getting past the tolls. It's wonderful. Keep signing up. We'd love to get to 2,000 members, lickety-split. Because once you get the all clear that we can travel, we plan on traveling. So, Bernie Sanders, somebody needs to get in his head and be like, no, Biden, maybe he's not Trump. Maybe he's not that consciously racist. Maybe he's not that consciously of an authoritarian. But Biden is dangerous. Biden as president is dangerous for the very people Bernie, you champion. Joe Biden as president, we will still be perpetually bombing 9 countries. The people who right now are rationing insulin will still be rationing insulin. The people who right now are working 2 to 3 jobs, they're not getting any relief. So you got to stop because Joe Biden asked you out for dinner as a senator and was nice to you. That's all good and well. That doesn't mean Joe Biden isn't a neoliberal corporate servant. That's what he is, and you need to start treating him as such. And this whole notion, by the way, in a long, long sea of gaslighting, okay? This whole notion that Bernie, you can't go crazy on Biden because it's going to harm him if he wins the nomination against Trump. You don't want to give Trump and the Republicans any ideas. Are you kidding me? Do you think the Republican Party and the Republican National Committee, which, by the way, has over $200 million sitting there waiting for Joe Biden, do you think the Republican Party needs Bernie Sanders or Bernie Sanders campaign or progressives on Twitter to give them any ideas on negative ads to put against Joe Biden? Let me tell you something, how politics works. There are already ads that have been cut from Republicans, and they are going to hammer Joe Biden on his lies about being arrested in apartheid South Africa, on his lies about, being on the front lines of civil rights sit-ins, on palling around with Strom Thurmond and giving a avowed segregationist and giving the eulogy at his funeral, of literally working with segregationist senators to stop busing in the 1970s, on him plagiarizing in the 1980s while he ran for president. There is so many lies that the Democratic Party, that MSNBC, that CNN, that Bernie Sanders has not attacked him on. The RNC and Donald Trump don't need Bernie Sanders to give them ideas. They already have it prepared. Not just that, and I'm going to play you, Jen highlighted this to me, and it's actually scary. You think the RNC and the RNC and Donald Trump aren't going to be littering the airwaves with ads of Joe Biden forgetting the Declaration of Independence, forgetting the name of Barack Obama multiple times, forgetting what day it is, forgetting where he is, stumbling all over the place? As we've been reporting for 6 months to a year here, we're not doctors, but this is clearly not a stuttering problem. If Joe Biden had a stuttering problem, he was talking just fine in 2008. He was talking just fine in 2012. He was talking just fine in 2016. He was talking just fine in 2018 when he was publicly going on the road speaking for candidates running for midterm elections that asked him to come out. He wasn't having these issues then. I had a childhood stutter. I got over it. I mean, I'm 33. I'm not 77 like Biden, but there's a difference between having a stutter and forgetting dates, decades. He gave a speech, he was talking last week. He thought he said he was vice president in 1976. I don't say this to mock Joe Biden. If Bernie Sanders if he thinks Donald Trump is an existential threat to the country, if he thinks we need, no matter what, even if it's with a candidate that I think is a corporatist pig, we need to defeat Donald Trump, and as such, I'm going to support the nominee. Well, Bernie, do you not see it as a threat to put somebody up against Trump on that debate stage in September and October, 3 debates that can't construct full sentences right now? Do you think it's the safe choice? You don't think it's a glaring, alarm bells going off here? That you literally have somebody whose campaign is hiding him? You don't think it's a problem when in this corona environment we are in now, where campaigns all they could do is live streams, teletown halls, that Joe Biden during a live stream, literally at one point, it seemed like he didn't realize he was still on and walked away? I mean, this is dangerous. And frankly, Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party will freak out, CNN will freak out, MSNBC will freak out. Bernie Sanders should bring it up. He doesn't need to say, I think my friend Joe here has X cognitive disease. But why are you not making Joe Biden, why are you not putting Joe Biden on the defense? Why are you not attacking this man? He's not your friend. He and his Democratic Party allies have been at the forefront of toxic, regressive, neoliberal policies that have hurt the working people you champion. That's who Joe Biden is. So this diplomacy of yours has not helped the matters. It's not the only reason he's losing, but it's part of it. It's part of it. Arlene Chambers, $10 in the super chat. So what the hell is wrong with James Clyburn endorsing Bernie and basically cajoling Southern black folks to vote for him? What's wrong with it? I didn't say there's anything wrong with it. I was just explaining why older black Americans tend to be more conservative and more pragmatic and tend to steer away from a message of revolution from someone like Bernie Sanders. I'm not criticizing them for that. I'm just giving you the historical context of why that is. I don't think there's anything wrong with James Clyburn endorsing Joe Biden. People can endorse whoever they want. What I think is wrong when the Democratic Party is chanting from the rooftops about the Russian boogeyman for 4 years, and welcome new Status Coup member Michael. Woohoo! 1,829 members. 1,829 Status Coup members. We have gained, that's 8 members so far. Let's keep it going. Do you believe in miracles? Can we get to 1850 live? I think we can. Keep signing up. I don't think there's anything wrong with Clyburn endorsing him. What I think is wrong is the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, behind closed doors, playing puppet master, and literally within 3 days getting Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar to drop out and endorse Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden. Clearly, there was agreements made, positions offered. Amy Klobuchar had a Freudian slip. Oh, I look forward to joining the ticket. She was probably already offered vice president to Joe Biden, which, judging by Joe Biden and what he's exhibiting, means Amy Klobuchar would be your shadow president if Joe Biden becomes president. I think there's something wrong with the former president, literally, and the Democratic Party literally rigging an election in 3 days to get Buttigieg out, to get Klobuchar out, to get Beto O'Rourke out of witness protection program, and endorse Biden, which I think helped him in Texas. By the way, do you think for a second Elizabeth Warren choosing not to endorse Bernie Sanders, you don't think that was influenced by Barack Obama or the Democratic Party? So all of this stacking of the deck, yes, rigging, hurt Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, remember, 3 weeks ago, he was on 60 Minutes as the front runner. 3 weeks ago, Joe Biden was politically dead. So it's like Wall Street speculation, this artificial, because Bernie Sanders' campaign, yes, they made mistakes, but they were also running for a year and a half against 10 to 20 candidates. When it changes in a drop of the hat to one candidate, it makes a big difference. And it's hard to adjust your strategy in the span of 5 days. And by the way, when you look at Super Tuesday, in state after state after state, most people decided within the last few days. You don't think it played a part that all of these people dropped out? That the media was like literally cheering like Santa Claus just came down the chimney. Rah, rah, Joe. That's why it matters. By the way, James Clyburn endorsing Biden. What the hell was wrong with it? Well, James Clyburn is a prominent black man in South Carolina. I have a problem with a prominent black man in South Carolina endorsing a man who's lying about his civil rights records, who's exploiting the black struggle for political gain. Is James Clyburn not aware of Joe Biden's lies, or does he just not care? So yes, I have a problem with that. Thank you for the super chat. Michael Williams, $20. Jordan, face it, Bernie is a good man, but Bernie is weak. He is still busy showing loyalty to a party that hates his guts. I voted for him, but he is weak. I'm not going to go as far as call him weak. I think he's politically naive. I think that he is choosing diplomacy and courtesy to the wrong people. I think he does not understand the danger of Joe Biden if he thinks Trump is so much more dangerous than Joe Biden. Joe Biden literally, this is another thing that Bernie's campaign didn't point out that much. Joe Biden literally gave a speech and basically endorsed a Republican candidate in Michigan in 2008 and helped that Republican candidate win. Joe Biden is the one that, as Obama's vice president, he was the one that negotiated with Mitch McConnell and agreed to extending the Bush tax cuts. Joe Biden was the one that was pushing Obama to put Social Security, Medicare, and all these things on the table as part of a grand bargain. Joe Biden is a Republican. He is. Is he less racist than Trump? Yes. But this whole mentality of lesser of two evils voting and all this stuff, well, eventually, if you keep voting for the lesser of two evils constantly, you're never going to get any better. As Jimmy and other people have shown, there's clips of Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC, a corporate shill now, but 10 to 15 years ago, he was saying, hey, progressives, guess what? You know how you actually get power in this country? You know how you actually stop getting trampled on and abused by the neoliberal Democratic Party? Don't give them your vote. If they know they're going to get your vote, if they know no matter what, you are going to vote for them because, well, the Republican is mildly worse, hey, guess what? They're never going to do anything. They're never going to give any. They're just going to give you lip service because they know you have your vote. Do I think Joe Biden is better than Donald Trump? On the margins, yes, I do. But do I think just voting for someone who's slightly less shitty than Donald Trump is gonna protect workers in this country, is gonna stop the climate crisis from expediting? No, I don't. By the way, we got over 1,400 people watching. 1,000 of you have pressed the like button. We need another 400 of you, kind people. Press that like button. It's right under the live stream, the thumbs up button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. Welcome new Status Coup member, Constantine. We are now at 1,830 members. And for those of you who came late, if you sign up today as a Status Coup member or tomorrow, you will get invited to our monthly members call. It's a fun call we do every month with our members. Jen and I, it's not through YouTube, it's through Zoom. It's a video call, but you don't have to be on video. You could mute your video if you don't want to be on camera. We take your questions, comments, ideas, criticisms. We take it all. StatusCout.com/join. Become a member for as low as an overpriced cup of Starbucks coffee a month, $5 a month. Welcome new Status Coup member, Anthony. Ooh la! We are now at 1,831 members. We are moving up, baby. That's 10 new members, and we are only an hour into this, so keep it coming. And like I said, we're going to be showing an original report in the next few minutes from Tina Desiree Berg. She's a freelance journalist, does great work, and she went to the polls in California to show the voter suppression going on. The hours of lines, interviewing people that literally could not wait on those lines, interviewing people who were handed provisional ballots, which generally don't count, interviewing people who were handed conditional ballots, which who the hell knows what a conditional ballot is? California is literally, it is such a microcosm of the fraud and suppression of our electoral voting system. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. So the bottom line is this. I've been honest with you. I think unless Bernie Sanders transforms right now, if he stops with this Joe's my friend bullshit, if he goes at Joe Biden, like, frankly, credit where credit is due, Donald Trump is a vile man, but he ran his campaign the right way. Bernie Sanders needs to mimic Donald Trump in this way and this way only. Go at Biden. Call him a puppet if you need to. Call him Status Quo Joe. And by the way, it's bullshit that Democratic primary voters are different than Republican primary voters, and they wouldn't like that. No. Voters don't only vote based on policy. They vote based on, do I trust this person? Bernie Sanders has not made the case not to trust Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders has not made the character case that Joe Biden's character is not what we need for a president. Bernie Sanders, by the way, needs to start hammering Joe Biden on, hey, Joe, if you want to take credit for every single thing that Barack Obama did, how about you start taking blame for some of the things? How about the fact that people in Flint, Michigan still don't have clean water? We're going on 6 years come April. They don't have clean water in Flint, Michigan. How about all the black men that were executed by police in this country? Barack Obama didn't do a damn thing about that. You know, if Biden should get the credit for everything, should he get some blame too? And frankly, listen, if Bernie Sanders wants to take the high road, you could take the high road. But I don't know many candidates, if it was a one-on-one, them versus Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination, I have no idea. I don't know any candidates, and that includes Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar. Frankly, I think Warren would use it too. That wouldn't be, maybe not directly, wouldn't be broaching, hey, Joe, you seem to be having some problems with memory here. You seem to be having problems with articulating. You seem to be having problems with remembering dates, people. This is relevant. They're all screaming and hollering that Bernie Sanders hasn't released his blood work from his heart attack, hasn't given the American people his vials of blood taken. Why is nobody asking for the fact that Joe Biden, who's had a medical test, the one thing that he was not tested for was his cognitive function? This isn't me saying it. This is the Washington Post reported. Joe Biden had a medical test, had medical testing, literally was not tested, his cognitive functioning. Why is that? Why is Joe Biden literally going out for only 7 to 20-minute speeches? Why are they now scripting him to the letter, to the word they are scripting him? They are not allowing for any improvisation in Joe Biden speaking. And I want to play you a clip from Michael Moore's podcast, Rumble. Michael Moore, obviously, we all know Michael Moore. Michael Moore has a podcast. I'd love to get on, Michael, if you're listening. And Michael Moore just did a podcast where he spoke about Democratic Party officials and Democratic Party insiders that he's been speaking to over the last week or so. And the fact that, well, all of them that are criticizing progressives for daring bring up Joe Biden's mental state, well, they're not saying that behind closed doors. Let's take a listen.
And he started talking about record players. I mean, I'm not going to go through all the things that we call gaffes on his part. I'm not going to go through all the things that we call gaffes bizarre and more. They're getting more and more bizarre and more and more common and more intense and so finally I had to start making some calls. I had to start talking to some people who I've known or I've met over the years. Who I've known or I've met over the years. Personally that well, they're not. I don't necessarily know them personally that well. They're not. I figured they'd take my phone call, but I figured they'd talk to me if I figured they'd take my phone call. Ran into them. I figured they'd talk to me at function or whatever. Ran into them at some function or whatever. And so I want to tell you what I've learned in my private, what I've learned in my private discussions with people that don't necessarily share my politics in the Democratic Party, but are good enough people that they were willing to confide their concerns and their fears to me. And I want to share some of that right now. Over these past 10 days, there is not one longtime Democrat, well-known Democrat, party functionary that I've spoken to that has not, off the record, admitted to me that there is a problem with Joe Biden. And when they say that, they are primarily speaking about something has happened or something is wrong. What they describe to me as cognitive decline. I mean, I guess there's many ways to describe it. We all know it because we all have parents or grandparents or great-grandparents. We've all seen it. It starts to worry us. It starts to concern us, but it's not all the time. And so it looks like, things are still okay. And we're decent people, and we want our elders to live a long life and a happy life and have access to everything in life that they should have. And they shouldn't be denied it simply because they've gotten old. So it's why I think it's difficult for some people to discuss this, but we're talking about the fate of the country at this moment here. That's all I'm talking about. We're talking about beating down Donald Trump, not Donald Trump crushing our candidate. And every person I have spoken to in these 10 days has agreed that there's a problem. Some of them have even gone so far as to describe to me the measures that they know from speaking to the Biden campaign or people close to the campaign. Measures are being taken. I keep being told this. Measures, don't worry, measures are being... What do you mean by measures? What measures can you do? Somebody is in decline. They're in decline. I mean, I don't know of a way to reverse that, but what are you saying? And then they start to describe to me things like, well, first of all, we're suggesting that he name his vice presidential nominee now or very soon. Tell the public who he's chosen. Tell her name. It'll be a woman, but it's going to be a very smart woman, a younger woman, a capable brainiac woman, somebody that when people, if he does mess up between now and the convention or now and the election, and it's enough for people to rationalize or say to themselves, it's okay. Look who's the VP. if this goes further, it gets worse or whatever. Look at the VP. Oh my God, she's incredible. I said, wow, there's a cynical tone to what you're describing to me when you say, yeah, let's just go pick a brainiac woman off the shelf here and use her, as a prop? No, Mike. No. I mean, no, she'll be real. And if she has to take over, she'll do a great job. It'll be somebody you like. Yeah, but we need the top of the ticket in great shape, mentally especially. Well, your guy had a heart attack. Yeah, he had a heart attack. Guys have heart attacks, especially as they get older. It's not uncommon. He had stents put in. Millions of people have stents put in. While they were in there, they cleaned out his arteries. The guy is like at full shape. He released his records. When we want more records. I mean, when we think records, we're thinking we're watching Marcus Welby or whatever, the doctors or something with large file folders of records. He released 3 very detailed letters from a medical doctor and from 2 cardiologists. And you can read. Nobody's taking the time to read it. It's online. You can read it. Blood pressure, 100/50. If you know anything about blood pressure, that's incredible. Cholesterol was under 100, and the good and the bad cholesterol and all that. It was, man, we should all hope for this, for what Bernie has. No, this is something else I'm talking about. I'm talking about, what's the problem with us having this discussion about Joe's cognitive abilities? And these things he's been telling that aren't the truth. I mean, they've kind of slid by with the media, in part because, well, the reasons. They're not going to cover this. But this whole thing that he went through, talking about how he got arrested trying to see Nelson Mandela, he was never arrested. It was just completely made up, either in his head on purpose or in his head because that's the way, you start to remember your history. More heroic than perhaps it was. It's better. It feels better. And all the other little things they've caught him in. Remember, if you're old enough, when he first had to drop out in 1988, is because they caught him plagiarizing, stealing other people's writings, and not telling the truth about his grades, and all this other stuff that it seems so small now compared to the crap we gotta live with right now. Oh my God. So in these last 10 days and talking to these people, this is one of the things I've heard. He's gonna pick a great vice president. You're gonna know who it is sooner rather than later, and it will bring comfort to you because you'll know that there's a backup. Instead of going into battle with Donald Trump with the number 1 person on the ticket at full force to defeat Donald J. Trump. I will say, I don't know if you saw the footage of him in the Detroit Auto Factory the other day, where the guy confronted him about, "You're going to take away my guns." And Biden just says to him, "You're full of shit." Just the way Grandpa was. You do reach that age where you just really don't give a shit about what anybody thinks. And those of us who are younger were like, "Oh, I wish I could do that." And it was, he just says to the guy, "You're full of shit." He says, "Well, here's what I'm going to take away. I'm going to take away your AR-15, and you don't need 100 bullets to fire at once to shoot a deer." You do reach that age where you just really don't.
So that was just some of Michael Moore's podcast. But what Michael Moore is describing is the political version of what I have personally seen. I don't know if Jen has personally seen it. I have seen this journalistically on the road, where you have journalists, I have heard, when we go to cover events for you, funded by you, by the way, statuscoup.com/join. We are now at 1,830 members. Let's keep it going. Can we get another 20 to get to 1,850?
Yes, we can.
I would love to sign up 20 more members in time for our members call tomorrow night. Statuscoup.com/join. Can't wait for our members call tomorrow night. So I have gone, when you go to the events, the rallies to cover these campaign events, as a journalist, you go into the press section. It's usually in the back of the area. There's a riser where press and cameramen and women stand so that they could get the shot of the speeches. But right next to it, there's also an area where journalists, sit with their laptops and they're tweeting and they're writing their stories, whatever. I have personally overheard more than once journalists talking about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And by the way, they weren't using the term cognitive decline. I'm not going to say what they were talking, the phrases they're using, because it's irresponsible. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing with, I don't want to diagnose Joe Biden with anything. Even my progressive friends who have been saying he's got dementia and these things, listen, I think that's a little much. We don't know what he has, and this isn't about mocking Joe Biden. I wish him well health-wise. I don't want him to be president. And as a journalist, I'm not going to be speculating what he has. But he clearly has something. It doesn't take a doctor to notice there's something very off cognitively here with Joe Biden. And I have heard other journalists, and I'm talking from large outlets, including the Washington Post, talking amongst themselves, like, this guy's got X, Y, and Z. Yet they won't dare write a story about it. They won't dare talk about it on CNN or MSNBC. It's this open secret that they will not dare mention. Can you imagine for 1 second if Bernie Sanders on stage confused his wife with his sister, which Joe Biden did? Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders told his voters to vote on Super Thursday? Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders, forgot Barack Obama's name multiple times? No, Bernie doesn't have a sister. Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders was reciting phrases from the Declaration of Independence and was like, I hold these truths to be self-evident, blah, 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 the thing? Not only would the dearly departed Chris Matthews, who had to resign because he's a pig from MSNBC, not only would Chris Matthews and Jennifer Rubin and, Chris Cuomo and Morning Joe and all these people, they would be having an absolute coordinated coronary if Bernie Sanders exhibited any of these symptoms, any of these phrases. Not only would they call for him to drop out, they would call for an immediate quarantine of Bernie Sanders. I'm not trying to be funny because obviously there's quarantines going on. They would call for Bernie to be put in a home immediately. But Joe Biden, journalists, they'll only chatter about it amongst themselves in the back, at bars. Politicians, they'll tell Michael Moore off the record. Insiders in the Democratic Party, they'll talk to Michael Moore, not for attribution, not to go on the record. Yes, something's clearly wrong here. And why this is so dangerous, and I said this weeks ago, we're not saying, this is not about elevating Bernie Sanders. I have said, get Joe Biden to a home. That doesn't mean give the nomination to Bernie. I know you would like that, but throw Pete back out there. Throw Amy back out there. Throw Kamala out there. Corey, whoever. Fill Biden's slot with another neoliberal fraud. And let Bernie compete with them. But you are literally throwing somebody out there who, you could call it what you want, stutter, cognitive decline, something more. Literally, Donald Trump is going to savage Joe Biden. And, I was having a discussion with, I don't want to say who, with somebody yesterday who is, kind of your typical MSNBC viewer, older, well-educated, makes a decent income. Know what I'm talking about? Great guy. And there's, most of these people that watch, they're not bad people. They're just, misinformed. It goes for people who watch CNN too. And there's this mentality, and I've heard it not just from this person, but many other people. Oh, but Trump look at Trump speak. Look at Trump. He could barely string together words and sentences. Who cares? Biden's going to crush Trump. Say what you want about Donald Trump. He's certainly no William Shakespeare in writing or the way he speaks. I personally have not seen Donald Trump yet stumble through full sentences. I have not seen Donald Trump confuse who people are. I haven't seen Donald Trump switching up decades. I haven't seen Donald Trump forgetting where he is. It might happen. But I have not seen Donald Trump exhibiting the sheer loss of memory, losing his train of thought to the level of Joe Biden. So if you, as a card-carrying Democratic Party member, if you're banking on, well, Biden might have something, but Trump does too, so it'll cancel each other out. Here's the box of tissues on November 6th, because you're going to need a lot of them. If you're banking on, well, Trump's got something too, so it really doesn't matter if Biden's what he has. Welcome, new Status Coup member Sam.
Welcome, Sam.
Woohoo! We are now at 1,832 Status Coup members. Keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. And frankly, it is gaslighting. They are gaslighting their viewers. But this is this open secret that Michael Moore just described. And by the way, it's not only journalists who know it. It's not only Democratic Party insiders who know it. From everything Michael Moore just said, Biden's own campaign knows it. That's the only reason. It is the only reason why somebody in the position of Biden right now as the front runner, somebody in the position of Biden right now as everything is stacked for Biden, all the endorsements, local, state, and federal, are coming to Biden right now. Everything has been rigged for Biden, stacked for Biden. It is the only reason why somebody in that favorable position would feel the need to announce a vice president now. Why would you do that unless you have a major liability yourself and you want to calm the masses? But guess what? Whoever you name as vice president, you could name Jesus as your vice president. They're not going to be able to step in for you and debate Donald Trump. The presidential candidate has to debate the president. So they can't, maybe Biden wears an earpiece and people tell him what to say during the debates. He still has to articulate it. So this notion that, Biden, all right, whatever. Let's say he picks Stacey Abrams, who's the hot name here. Let's say he picks Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar. Who's the one you were mentioning, the handicap one? Tammy Duckworth.
No, Duckworth.
Whoever he picks. I'm all for having a female vice president. Having a female president. None of those names meet my test, but whatever. They're not going to be able to stand in for Joe Biden to debate Donald Trump. They're not going to be able to protect Joe Biden from the onslaught of ads that are going to come against him. Everything from him stumbling, forgetting people's names, forgetting Obama's names. Frankly, this hasn't been talked about. You don't think Donald Trump and the RNC aren't going to be airing ads in Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania of Joe Biden sniffing young children's hair? This notion that, stop talking, Jordan, stop talking, progressives, you're giving them ideas. Are you nuts? This is the party of Karl Rove. This is the party of Roger Stone. This is the party of Steve Bannon, Willie Horton ads. Are you nuts? They don't need me to give them ideas. They already have these ads ready to go. By the way, we got 1,600 wonderful people watching. Press that like button. 1,300 people have liked. We need another 300 people liking. And by the way, I just want to give you updates as we go. Jen just sent me this. It is being reported that New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who I just find it insane that he hasn't closed down all the schools yet, but putting that aside, de Blasio is now considering a lockdown of New York City, a total lockdown of New York City, which is the right decision. It would suck. Me and my girlfriend would be, like millions of others, would be stuck in our homes, but there's worse things in life. If you have Netflix, other ways to enjoy yourself, people should be at home. People should be inside their homes. It's literally like the economic Hunger Games out there. We haven't been able to find toilet paper. Food shelves are empty, blah, blah, blah. So, if you're living in New York City or another place right now, you got to be careful. You have to try and, if you go out to get food or other needs, you have to try and be at least, I think they're saying 2 meters from other people or 6 feet away, but that's hard. I'm walking yesterday in New York City. You could be trying to stay away from people, but that doesn't mean other people aren't walking close to you. But New York City might be locked down. I also want to get to the primaries that are coming up on Tuesday, which it's absurd that Ohio, Florida, Illinois, and Arizona are still having their primaries. I don't say this as a Bernie guy. I don't say this because, let's pause the primaries to stop Biden from winning. I say this because you literally have an airborne illness that is passed through. You could pass it through talking to someone and spit coming at you. You could pass it through touching people. It could be passed through a variety of ways. You're then going to tell people, including a lot of older people, to go wait on a line packed with other people? It's insane. Absolutely insane. So the last thing I'll say on what I think Bernie needs to do tonight, and full disclosure, I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't think he's going to do it. That's why a lot of you who are criticizing me throughout these debates, Jordan, stop criticizing Bernie. He's holding his fire. He's waiting. He's waiting to go nuclear. He will. Well, how long are you going to wait? This has been since 2016, by the way. He had opportunities to go nuclear on Hillary Clinton. He chose not to. And now he has these opportunities in these debates. Bernie Sanders, he's a fighter, but I think Bernie Sanders, again, I think what he doesn't understand about politics, you don't just win based on the issues. If that were the case, he'd be winning in a landslide. Because when you go down the list of all these states, Bernie is winning on the issues. Even in states that are going for Joe Biden, Bernie's winning on the issues. Medicare for all has had majority approval in every single state that has voted, including Mississippi, by the way. Okay? You got Green New Deal, majority support. Other progressive measures, according to the polls and the exit polls, has had majority support. So it is now being reported that New York governor says there are now 729 confirmed cases of coronavirus in New York State, highest of any state in the nation. There have now been 3 deaths in New York, and unfortunately that number is probably going to skyrocket. But 729 cases in New York. I believe there was 160 or something in New York City yesterday, so that's probably going to get a lot higher. So Jordan will be staying inside for the most part. So will my love. So Bernie Sanders, you're not just going to win based on the issues. You have to make the point why the other person cannot be trusted, why the other person is a fraud. That's why negative political ads exist. You could think they're distasteful if you want, but that's why negative ads exist. Because you have to show not just that you are the righteous guy or gal, not just that your policies will lift the worker bees of America, but that the other person is full of shit, that the other person is a fraud. And frankly, if I was Bernie Sanders tonight, you got 2 hours, Bernie Sanders. You're going to have a big audience tonight. A lot of interest in this debate, particularly when coronavirus is going on. Put Joe Biden on the defensive, because I don't think Bernie Sanders is stupid. You don't think he notices something's off with his friend Joe? Make Joe Biden slip up. Go on the offense and make him have to speak. Make him have to explain himself. Make him have to articulate. And the last thing I will say before we get to some election stuff, I believe, based on what we're seeing, that Elizabeth Warren is going to endorse Joe Biden. If you saw this yesterday, Joe Biden has come out and endorsed Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy proposals. And her bankruptcy proposals were basically to undo Joe Biden's bankruptcy bill. As this tweet says, this is a pretty sudden reversal. When Warren introduced this proposal in January, the Biden campaign was still defending the 2005 bankruptcy law. A Warren aide says Team Biden gave them a heads up. He would endorse the proposal, and the two teams have been in touch on the issue. By the way, welcome. Just got 2 new members. Woohoo! Welcome new Status Coup member Cecil. I don't know if that's Cecil or Cecile, but welcome. Welcome new Status Coup member Thad. Woohoo! We are now at 1,833. 1,833 Status Coup members. Sign up for as low as $5 a month. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. So, hold on. So, I think that from everything we're seeing here, Elizabeth Warren, there's no reason that Joe Biden would be endorsing her bankruptcy plan unless Joe Biden is actively trying to get her endorsement. Joe Biden probably thinks that getting Elizabeth Warren's endorsement could help him put the final nail on Bernie's coffin, right? I think, I don't need to report anything you don't know. Obviously, Elizabeth Warren is politically dead to progressives, but I just think it shows even more so. Elizabeth Warren is a perfect case study on not only how Washington corrupts, but how Washington makes formerly principled people delusional. And I'll tell you why. Elizabeth Warren, in her mind, I can't get in her mind, but this is just my opinion, why I think she's doing all this. I don't honestly think it's just because she's pissed off at, Bernie bros, or that Bernie was mean to her, or Bernie said something to her. I don't think it's only that. I think Elizabeth Warren comes from the political school of thought that a lot of other formerly progressive people that started becoming more and more corrupt and neoliberal come from. That if I make deals with the establishment, if I make deals with people like Biden, who I don't agree with, who I think are distasteful, but if I make deals with these folks and I sell out just a little bit, well, that's how I'll actually be able to get the policies that I believe in passed. Because, you need leverage against the Joe Bidens of the world. So if you give them a little bit, then they'll give you what you want. And I think these mini rationalizations that people like Elizabeth Warren make, that it's better for me to endorse Biden, even though he's totally against everything I claim to believe in. It's better for me to endorse Biden because that way when he's president, I'll have influence over his administration. Maybe I won't get a position, but I'll have influence over their policy making, and I'll have influence to where I could steer him away from appointing the Lloyd Blankfeins of the world and the Jamie Dimons of the world to his cabinet. And I'll have influence, to make sure when they pass legislation, it's more progressive. If Elizabeth Warren actually believes that Joe Biden would give her a parking pass in the White House, much less let her influence who he appoints to his cabinet, or let her influence legislation he tries to push, then she is absolutely delusional. Absolutely delusional. I give you the Clintons. I give you Pelosi, Durbin, all these people. The neoliberal Democratic Party is famous for telling progressives whatever they need to be told to get their support and then selling them out once in office. Joe Biden could say he supports your little bankruptcy proposal now to get you, hoodwink you into endorsing him. Joe Biden's not going to propose or push a bankruptcy proposal that's tilted on the side of working people. That's not going to happen. Joe Biden could tell you right now that he's going to go further to the left on universal pre-K and these things. He's going to abandon it once he gets your endorsement and once he becomes president. You want to know why? Because it's not Joe Biden making the decisions. It's not the president of the United States making the decisions. In this corrupt system, It is the donors making the decisions. That is why you get neoliberal cake for the bourgeoisie, crumbs for the rest of us. The donors that Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Trump, McConnell, all of them depend on, they decide what gets passed or not passed. They decide how far left proposals will go. So I just think Warren, besides not having any conviction, is delusional. So I want to address something, and Jen texted me, and Jen reprimands me all the time, and a lot of times she's right. So Jen sent me this message. I think you're being too flippant about how easy it will be for people to quarantine. People have hourly jobs and homes and no health care. It's easy for you/us, but I think you should address it. You're coming from a very privileged position, and people were commenting. I think she's absolutely right. So let me make sure I make clear a few things. Number one, I am privileged because I work from home. So did my girlfriend. So we don't have, and Jen and I have our own company. So I'm coming from a place where I don't have to travel outside the home every day. So that is definitely an advantage that I have that most people do not. I also come from my healthcare is not so good. The deductibles are through the roof or whatever, but at least I do have healthcare. So I could get medication. My family, if I didn't have money, could help me if I God forbid contracted this to get the care I need, all those things. So to be clear, I understand it's not as easy as I was saying, just stay home, this and that. What I have said, and by the way, for a lot of you that weren't in the live stream in the beginning, what I said, there should be from the top, a shutdown of all office jobs, to the point where you don't have a choice. You have to stay home. Aside from doctors, nurses that obviously have to be in the hospital to treat people. With that said, there should be, and I said this in the beginning, there should be, if they could do quantitative easing and just pump money to the banks in 2008 and 2009, then they should do that for the working people of America, you and everybody. So that if there is a lockdown, it's not like you're not going to have to pay rent that month, right? It's not like you're not going to have to pay your student loans that month. It's not like it's not like, voila, your expenses get frozen. There needs to be immediate UBI, whether it's UBI, call it what you want, immediate cash payments to working people, to everybody. If, I say you can means test it. I don't particularly think millionaires need this money, but so that the people that do not have my privilege, that do not work from home, that can't just go live and get super chats and membership signups and all those things, because we still status quo. We're not going to make as much as we would traveling, but we'll still do okay, I guess. But there needs to be immediate paid sick leave, immediate cash payments sent to every single American, so that if you're a restaurant worker, if you're an Amazon factory worker, if you work at McDonald's, Burger King, whatever, if you are a working person, work at an auto plant, and there is a lockdown, people cannot leave their homes, which I think is where we're headed, and it's where we should be headed. It's what if Italy would have done this in the first place, it wouldn't be as catastrophic there as now. Then you are covered. Your costs for groceries, for your whatever it is, your rent, your loans are covered. So hopefully that clears it up. I understand it's not so simple for the majority to just stay home, because there's a lot of people still being forced to go to work. And most people cannot afford Ubers to work to avoid public transit. Most people can, even if you're driving to work, you're still around people. You don't know who they've been around. And those people, there's no way to even know if you've been infected. If you are out in America, walking, there's no way to really track who you're around. And even if you were exposed from another person, that person might not know they have it. So hopefully that clears it up. I wasn't trying to be dismissive. I understand it's not easy. I'm very lucky that I can work from home, that I have my own company. Most people aren't. Most people are not. So with that said, With that said, Colin Tooley, $5. My friend in California had his hours cut. He's out $1,000 a month. Only Bernie proposed to help him. Yes, and by the way, Bernie needs to make this case tonight because Biden's little address that he gave, that the corporate media was fawning about because he had some flags behind him, he didn't address anything economically. I think he said paid sick leave. Does that address people that are going to be evicted from their homes? There's still going to be people being evicted if they don't pay rent. Still homeless people on the streets. Still people having to pay their student loans. Still people having to pay their rents, other bills. Biden didn't address any of that. You want to know why? Because his donors don't want to pay the bill. His donors don't. I mean, you literally, you have the CEO of Whole Foods. I don't know what he makes, but I'm sure he's a filthy millionaire. The CEO of Whole Foods had the unmitigated gall to say, for my workers that aren't sick, you should give as a gift to your fellow colleagues that are sick your vacation time so that they don't have to work. So workers should gift their vacation time to their colleagues because their millionaire CEO, by the way, Whole Foods now owned by Amazon. You know who owns Amazon? The richest person in the world, Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Whole Foods in America, are not obligated to provide paid sick leave. So literally, we are relying now on GoFundMes, the charity of workers that aren't sick, to transfer their vacation time to workers that are sick. Joe Biden stands for this system, and Bernie Sanders better go at him for it. Based on what I've seen, I'm not banking on it. By the way, we're now at 1,833 Status Coup members, so that's only 17 members away. 17 members away from 1,850. I'm a couple minutes away from airing our special report. If you're coming to this late, we have a special report we're going to air for you on the voter suppression and fraud going on in California. We have freelance journalist Tina Desiree Berg, was amazing and provided this for us, so we're going to have that for you in a few minutes. But I do want to go through the primaries that are coming up. The primaries that are coming up on Tuesday: Ohio, Florida, Arizona, and Illinois. There is now a pressure campaign to cancel these primaries, or postpone them, I should say. So this is an open letter to extend mail-in voting and reschedule March primaries amid the pandemic. Over 500 people, including medical professionals, have signed this. Public health professionals, scientists, advocates, elected representatives, and others are encouraged to add their name to this letter here. Let me put it in the super chat so you could have it. To DNC Chair Tom Perez and members of the Democratic National Committee, and to the Secretaries of State of Arizona, Florida, Illinois, and Ohio. The next round of Democratic presidential primaries are scheduled for March 17th in Arizona, Florida, Illinois, and Ohio amid a deadly pandemic. This is a dangerous state of affairs. All 4 states have declared state of emergencies or have patients in quarantine in response to COVID-19 novel coronavirus outbreak. On March 14th, Georgia moved their primary from March 24th to May 19th. Louisiana rescheduled their primary on April 4th for June 20th. Hundreds are sick and multiple people have died. It has resulted in numerous cancellations and postponements, including presidential campaign events in Cleveland and Tampa. In the swing state of Ohio, the state's health department director, Amy Acton, said there is evidence 1% of Ohioans may be carrying the coronavirus. That means 117,000 may have COVID-19. State officials in Arizona, Illinois, Ohio, and Georgia, with the support of the Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders presidential campaigns, should reschedule the primaries for May, when states such as Indiana, Oregon, and Kentucky have their primaries. Until May, mail-in voting should be implemented throughout under the guidance of health and election authorities. We have seen long lines of voters in states like Texas and Michigan. The amount of time standing in line with hundreds or even thousands of other voters substantially increases the likelihood that someone will get sick. By postponing primaries, state governments will be able to keep resources focused, and they will not need to worry about the distraction of running primaries while responding to this pandemic. This will also give time for the states to implement alternative voting mechanisms, such as vote by mail at a sufficient scale if the pandemic continues to be an emergency for these states. Furthermore, polling place workers, who are generally retired volunteers over 65 years old, should not need to be exposed to the risk of contracting the coronavirus while managing precinct locations. We should note that we do not believe that a public health crisis or a state of emergency should ever be used as an excuse to cancel elections. The Democratic primary season concludes in early June. The party has full flexibility to schedule state-level races at any point before then. In addition to our primary concern about public health, we believe this would be beneficial to the democratic process. As people are understandably avoiding public places and crowds, we expect turnout to be depressed. Rescheduling the primaries would ensure that more people are allowed to exercise their right to vote without fear. It would also be particularly good for down-ballot races of the Democratic Party primary. Candidates in city, county, and state races will likely benefit from higher turnout. Cancellations and closings help doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals have a chance at saving lives. For the health of our fellow citizens and our democracy, please act now to postpone the upcoming March primaries until May. So that is signed by social workers, doctors, professors, and a whole list of people. And I'm sure that list is going to get longer of the people who signed. Currently, all of those states, Arizona, Ohio, Illinois, and Florida, are planning on holding their primaries. Florida and Ohio and others do have mail-in ballots, but the majority of people go in person. To be honest with you, if you're just looking at this from a purely political lens, right? Probably it's going to hurt both of them, but you would have to think this would harm Joe Biden more than Bernie Sanders, particularly in Florida. Just look at Michigan. We went over this the other day. Let me get that. This is Michigan, but the numbers are like this all over the country. Bernie Sanders is cleaning Joe Biden's clock with people under 50. Joe Biden is crushing Bernie Sanders with people over 50. Well, this coronavirus, the most compromised people are over the age of 50. So, obviously there's going to be stubborn old people who are just like, whatever, I'll be fine. But I think there are a lot of older people that are not going to go out to a voting place in Florida, in Ohio, and other places. And they shouldn't. It's not to say younger people are stupid, but generally speaking, I think you would. And when I say younger people, I'm also talking about people in their 30s, in their 40s. I think you would have more people under the age of 50 that go in person to vote than older people. So from a political point of view, this could suppress the vote more for Joe Biden than Bernie Sanders. I think it would still affect Bernie Sanders, but we just don't know. There's no way to know. Secondly, you have to wonder, why is the DNC, why is the Democratic Party, the DNC, pushing for these contests to continue as scheduled when you have restaurants closing down, businesses closing down, certain cities having near full lockdowns or full lockdowns? I just reported that New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio might have a lockdown of New York City. Why is the Democratic Party so intent on keeping these elections going when that petition accurately stated they have the flexibility to move all of these to May? By the way, this crisis might not even be over in May. We don't know. Welcome new Status Coup member Giovanni. Woohoo! Love you, Giovanni. We are now at 1,834 members. We now need 16 more of you. There's 16 souls out there watching the live stream right now that want to sign up. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as an overpriced Starbucks cup of coffee a month. That's $5 a month. And tomorrow, if you're a member before tomorrow night, you'll be joining us on our members call. Jen, I think we're going to break all sorts of records for this member call tomorrow night. I think we're easily going to have maybe 150 to 200 people. I think our biggest was like 75. I think we're going to have a lot of people tomorrow night wanting to join this members call. So if you sign up before tomorrow night, you'll get the link. It's through Zoom, not YouTube. And we have a lot of fun. Take your questions, comments, concerns, ideas. We might run it longer. Usually it's about an hour, hour and a half. We might do a little longer tomorrow night because we haven't done one. We didn't do one in February because I was traveling and Jen was traveling covering the campaign. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com. Please work now. Okay, we're back up. Sorry, we went down for a minute. I think we're back up now. Hold on. Stay. Tune. Stay. Please, go back up. Stay. Stay. Okay, I think we're back up. Sorry, my Ethernet cord went out for a minute, but we are back. Do you truly think, for 1 minute, if the roles were reversed and Bernie Sanders was leading Joe Biden, do you think, and if the next 4 states that were to come, Bernie Sanders was leading Joe Biden, and the next 4 states looked very, very bad, very bad for Joe Biden, do you think that the Democratic Party would be keeping these primaries going? I don't think so. Am I live or no?
A lot of people are saying no.
Shit. That sucks. What will be. Okay, let me check something here. Pretty sure I'm live.
On the same page? The original link?
No, a different one.
Not see it on the YouTube page.
Am I back?